Mark Bell from SuperTraining Gym. SuperTraining Gym, the strongest gym in the West. I'm gonna cook up some steak. I got a bunch of Piedmontese steaks right here. I got a flat iron. I got a bavette steak. These are some of my faves. I also have a New York strip that we're gonna throw into the mix. We're gonna take all these. We're gonna cook them all up at once. We're gonna chop them up with scissors. The scissors will change your life. They really will. It just makes cooking your meat so much easier. I know that like people are like, I cook my meat this way. Oh, you need to, put it in the oven, and you need to reverse sear it. You need to cook it on a barbecue. You need to cook it this way. I cook it in a pan a lot of times, and I just chop it up. When you've been eating as much protein as I have for as long as I have, you sometimes just need to like do it in a fashion that is simple, and do it in a fashion that's going to be like repeatable. And so if I'm going to try to like cook it up fancy all the time, which I do very often for dinner, I'll do that, especially like if it's my wife and I or something like that. We want to have a nice glass of wine, and we might sous vide a steak, something like that, do something a little fancy, something a little different. But I'm telling you guys that when you cook it the way I'm going to cook it right now, it's still going to be awesome. And we're going to cook it with some potatoes. We're going to throw some salt. We're going to throw some spices in there. The first thing we need to do is we need to start cutting these things out of the packaging, and then we're going to season them, and we're going to chop them up, and we're going to throw them in. So one of the things I like to do, especially more recently, I've been letting my steaks sit out. So I think that people probably think that that's gross, but you want your meat to get, your steaks to get to room temperature. And so I leave them out for 6 hours, 4 hours, something like that. It just makes the cooking of them a little bit easier. These are all really lean steaks. I love Piedmontese beef. They've been a sponsor of my podcast for quite some time. So if you're a fan of the podcast, then it helps us if you support these guys, support the people that support us. There's also, I think there's like a Jacked and Tan package on the website and stuff like that. You can check it out there. But I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. I'm just simply showing you how I cook. One thing I will sell you on is the fact that this meat is the leanest meat that you're going to find and the most tender. So it's really rare to find lean cuts of meat that are also really tender. So there's one. There's two. Chop them out of these packages here. What do you guys? What are your favorite steaks? I'm really a huge fan. I love ribeye. I love filet. By the way, you can overdo it too. You can overdo it with the amount of meat that you eat. Some people are like, you go on a carnivore diet, you can eat unlimited amounts of food. It's never really the case. You really can't eat unlimited amounts of food. The thing that becomes difficult is it becomes very hard. When you're only eating meat, it becomes a little bit more difficult to overeat. But you certainly can still overeat. And overdoing the fat is something I learned is also very easy. So you still want to be a little bit cautious. And that's why having this kind of meat, having Piedmontese meat, helps keep some leaner meat in the equation. It helps to allow me to eat other things, because if I'm going to eat some carbohydrates, then it's important that I reduce fat that I'm eating for a period of time. There's a lot of give and take there, and if you start eating excessive amounts of fat and carbohydrates together, that tastes delicious. That's our pizza, that's our ice cream, that's our candy bars, our chocolates and things like that. They're really rich in fat, and they're also rich in carbohydrates. And so that taste together, when you combine those two things, even just like a piece of bread with some butter on it, when you start to bring those things together, it's very easy to overeat on that. And so what I found with a carnivore style diet that's been really helpful for me is that when we stick to single ingredients, 2 ingredients, 3 ingredients, 4 ingredients, a low level of ingredients, just some meat and maybe some salt, or some meat and some salt and pepper, or some meat and some spices, that when we stick to that, it's more difficult to overeat. Not that you can't overeat, you certainly can, but it makes it more difficult. The more that we add in, the more, even if we were just to bring rice into the situation, if we had meat and rice, chopped up meat and rice, or ground beef and rice, it's easier to eat more of it. If we had some chopped up steak and rice and teriyaki sauce. Now it's easy to eat a lot of it, right? Now we got to get some seasoning on here. You really want to have some good amount of salt. A lot of the negative stuff that you heard about salt over the years has been retracted. Salt's very healthy, salt's very good for you. If you have a pre-existing condition, you might need to reduce salt, but in general, for most people that are exercising, most people can utilize salt as a real performance enhancer. It can actually assist you a lot. You might want to even try to have some salt before a workout as a little pre-workout. It can help give you a little edge. It's just an electrolyte. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can do some of your own research on it. And you'll find that to be very true. I always encourage you guys to educate yourselves further. Stan Efferding with the vertical diet, Paul Saladino, Carnivore Code, and Dr. Sean Baker with the Carnivore diet. Those are all people that you guys should be studied up on, and you should be aware of the information that they have, because they have tremendous information. They talk a lot about cholesterol. We've beaten that thing to death. What about my cholesterol? Please, it's not a place to ask that question, although I know in the comments below you are going to ask that question. Please refer to them. Please, check out some of the stuff. I have my own videos on this channel talking about it endlessly. We talked about it a lot. I talked to Sean Baker and Paul Saladino about it together. I've talked to Stan Efferding on my podcast many times about these kind of things and about the health or the impact of a carnivore diet. A carnivore diet can be amazing. It can be really healthy. Now, what I've learned from doing the carnivore diet, I think you can do the carnivore diet your whole life and be totally fine. However, for myself, I don't choose to do that. I'd rather kind of mix things up a little bit here and there. So for me, I eat other things other than just meat. I also have yogurt, I have cottage cheese, I'll eat vegetables here and there, I'll eat fruit here and there. I love oranges, I love apples, I'll have protein shakes here and there. Sometimes I'll go through a kick or go through a period where I have some dairy. More recently, I've shifted my diet over to something that I refer to in my book, The War on Carbs. The War on Carbs, I have some iterations of the War on Carbs where I got the War on Carbs where it's a real war and there's no carbohydrates in the mix. We're trying to stay at zero basically, which is kind of impossible, but you're trying to stay as low as you can. We're not trying to eat any carbohydrates whatsoever. Then I have another phase where you're intentionally having a little bit of carbohydrates, maybe just like post-workout. Then I have another phase which is called the PE diet, which is basically just what I've been doing more recently. And that's kind of lean meats and occasionally eating some potatoes, having some fruit here and there. If some vegetables get in my way, I eat them. But that's been pretty much it, and I'm loving it. I feel really good. I have tons of energy. Not that I didn't have energy when I was doing straight carnivore, but what I'm excited about now that I'm eating some rice, now that I'm eating some potatoes here and there, I can't wait to get back to lifting weights because I know that the pumps are going to be real and I know that I'm going to feel really good. But I would also say that on a carnivore diet, as long as my salt was good and as long as the overall amount of food I had was good, I still felt like I got pumps. I felt like I would get more of a pump and I would be a little bit bigger and a little bit fuller. But don't use that as an excuse to not diet. Because as I've pointed out many times, it doesn't matter what diet that you do. If you're actually truly dieting and you're starting to lose a lot of body fat, you'll feel flat anyway. It doesn't matter if you're Jay Cutler or if you're Ronnie Coleman. Those guys will tell you as they got closer to competition that they felt flat. They certainly didn't look flat, but they would certainly feel flat. So it doesn't matter what diet you do, whether you're eating carbohydrates or not eating carbohydrates. If you're trying to pull off tons of body fat and you're doing a lot of exercise and not eating enough food, you'll feel flat either way. Might be able to mitigate that, minimize that with a bodybuilding style diet. This right here is a way to change your life, is scissors. The other thing that I like too is like, let's just say, which this is not true, but let's just say that this was a tough piece of meat. If this was a tough piece of meat, well, I can cut it this way, okay? okay, I can cut it this way, wham, and I can cut it this way. So I cut it that way, whoosh, and I'm going to cut it this way. Whoosh. It's no longer a tough piece of meat. I can eat the entire thing. I think we're good. All right. Getting her nice and hot. I'm going to throw in a little bit of chub here. I got some ghee butter, just to get a little fat in there. Not a lot, just get a little bit in there. Oh. Yeah. Woohoo. Cooking her up. Bam. Bunch of potatoes, cooked them up the other day. Bam. So you always want to shut everything down early. Don't be a pussy about it either. Just like shut it off. If something comes out a little too rare, you could always throw it back on. Kettle fire mushroom chicken. 20 grams of protein and 4 carbs in this whole thing. And there's 0 fat, according to the label. So here we go. A little bit of chicken stack. Don't need a lot of that, but just a wee bit. Now we're good to go. This right here, this is your immunity booster. This is the way that you stay away from the coronavirus. This is a coronavirus soup. No bat in there. Just cow and potatoes and chicken, but no bats. I guess this is not like coronavirus inducing. This is anti-coronavirus. I think people have their doubts about my cooking skills, but they don't understand. And I think, it's always good to give yourself a good portion, but it's like kind of more fun, like to get seconds. Makes you feel tougher or something. So I'm gonna scoop myself another scoop of the extra broth in there. Give you a layer or two. Sound effects are crucial. There you go. I just cooked up some New York steaks, some flat iron steaks, and a bavette steak with some potatoes, some bone broth, some of this stuff. You saw all the shit that I use. You guys ask all the time. Now you saw it all. This is Redmond sea salt as well, like the coarse salt they have. And then this stuff. I shared everything. You saw it all. I threw a little bit of this ghee in there. Sometimes just having fat in the pan, you don't really need it, but I just prefer it. I feel like it helps kind of sear the meat a little bit better, helps it cook a little bit better. Give it a first go here. That's awesome. If there was any rules to your kitchen, just be to make stuff that tastes to your liking, when I'm cooking, if I cook for the fam, then my daughter's got some different requirements than my son does, and my wife has some different, my wife and I are similar, so we can cook the same for each other. But that's kind of the only rule. It's like, just make shit that people like, make shit that people enjoy, and then they have different taste buds than you, they have different requirements than you, and they may not like something a certain way, so just make something to their liking. Don't be stubborn about it. But there doesn't have to be all these rules. Things don't have to be fancy. You can cook steak in a pan, you can use scissors, you can be a meathead, do it whatever way you got to do it, and bon appetit. Strength is never weakness, weakness is never strength. Catch you all later.